One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the Sea of Galilee, the disciples gathered around Jesus, seeking his wisdom. They came with questions, worries, and burdens they could no longer carry alone. Jesus saw the heaviness in their eyes, the deep lines of worry on their faces, and with a gentle smile, he began to speak. "Let me tell you a story," Jesus said, looking out over the waters, his voice carrying a warmth that soothed their anxious hearts. The gentle waves mirrored the orange and pink hues of the setting sun, a sight that made even the most restless feel a moment of peace. Yet, in the eyes of his disciples, Jesus could see the shadows of doubt, fear, and uncertainty, shadows that every person knows on their journey toward their dreams. "There was once a young shepherd named Eli," Jesus began, his voice calm and filled with a gentle rhythm. Eli lived in a humble village nestled at the foot of a great, towering mountain. Every day he led his flock through the fields, guiding them to green pastures and protecting them from dangers. But every night, after the sheep had settled, Eli would sit alone on a hill outside his village, his gaze fixed on a single bright star that shone directly above the mountain peak. To Eli, this star was more than just a light in the sky. It was a symbol of hope, a dream he carried deep within his heart. He believed that if he could reach the top of that mountain and stand beneath that star, he would find a life filled with purpose and fulfillment, a life beyond the ordinary struggles of his days. The disciples listened intently, the flickering firelight reflecting in their eyes as they imagined the young shepherd staring up at his distant star. Jesus continued, weaving the story with a voice that seemed to speak directly to their hearts. Eli's longing grew each night, and one evening as he watched the star with longing in his heart, he whispered a prayer, "Lord, if it is your will, guide my steps. Let me reach that peak and understand my purpose." He felt a quiet determination settle over him, and from that night, he began his journey. Before the first light of dawn, he set out with his simple belongings, a small satchel of bread, a wooden staff, and the memory of that star shining in the darkness. But the path that stretched before him was not easy. The disciples leaned in, their interest piqued by the familiar struggles in Eli's story. Jesus saw how their hearts opened to the lesson, and he pressed on. Each morning, Eli faced challenges that tested his spirit. The mountain's path was steep and uneven, covered with jagged rocks and thorny bushes. His legs ached as he climbed, and his hands grew raw from gripping the rough stone. Many times Eli stumbled, scraping his hands and knees on the sharp stones. His feet ached, his strength wavered, and he often felt alone in the silence of the vast mountain slopes. Each night, as he camped under the open sky, he would look up, trying to catch a glimpse of his guiding star. But some nights, thick clouds rolled in, hiding the star from view. In those moments, Eli felt a deep despair, wondering if he had lost his way, if he was meant to reach the summit at all. Eli would spend hours staring into the darkness, questioning the path he had chosen. His mind filled with doubts, but in the quiet of the night, he would remember the warmth of the promise he felt when he first set out. And so, each morning he rose with the dawn, determined to try again. As Jesus spoke, he looked each disciple in the eye, seeing their own doubts mirrored in Eli's story. He knew that they too faced moments when their goals seemed hidden, when hope felt distant. But Eli did not turn back. Jesus continued, his voice growing stronger with each word. Even when his hands were bruised from the rocks, even when he felt the weight of loneliness pressed down on him like a heavy cloak, he pressed forward. He remembered his prayer, and he believed that the journey mattered as much as the destination. As the days turned into weeks, Eli encountered travelers descending from the mountain. Their faces were worn, their expressions filled with a resigned acceptance of the valley below. They told stories of lost dreams and the comfort they found in giving up the climb. "The mountain is too high," they would say. "There is safety and warmth back in the village. Come down with us, and you will find a life of ease, far from the struggles of this path." Their words struck a chord within Eli, especially on the days when exhaustion made each step feel like a burden too heavy to bear. He wondered if they were right, if his desire to reach the star was a foolish fantasy. He even considered turning back, but then he would look up, and through a break in the clouds he would catch a glimpse of the star, glowing steadily above. Its light seemed to whisper to him, reminding him of the strength that lay within him. With a renewed sense of purpose, he continued onward, even when doubt clung to him like a shadow. The disciples felt their hearts stir, for they saw their own struggles reflected in the tale of Eli. They knew the pain of a long journey, the discouragement that comes when progress seems slow, and the desire to give up when the summit seems impossible. Eli's journey was not without its darkest moments, Jesus said, his tone becoming more somber. One fateful day, a fierce storm rolled over the mountain. Rain poured down in torrents, turning the path into a river of mud. The wind howled like a wild beast, pushing him back with every step. He struggled to keep his footing as lightning cracked across the sky, and thunder echoed through the valleys below. With each gust, Eli felt his hopes slipping away, washed down the mountain by the rushing water. He found a small cave and collapsed inside, his body shaking with cold and fear. In that cave, Eli faced the deepest darkness of his journey. He cried out in his despair, "Lord, is this truly the path you have set before me? Why is it so hard? Why must I suffer so?" His voice was swallowed by the storm outside, and for a long time he heard no answer. He sat alone in the darkness, tears streaming down his face, feeling more lost than ever before. The disciples held their breath, their hearts aching for the young shepherd. They remembered the times when their own cries seemed to go unanswered, when they felt alone in their struggles. Jesus paused, letting the weight of Eli's despair settle over them. But in the darkest hour, when Eli had nearly given up all hope, he felt a warmth deep within his heart. Jesus continued, his voice soft but filled with power. A voice whispered to him, "You are not alone, Eli. I am with you in every step, in every struggle. The storm will not break you, for I am your strength." Eli clung to those words, letting them be his anchor in the storm. He felt a new resolve ignite within him, a small but fierce flame that refused to be extinguished. With trembling hands he gathered his belongings and stepped back into the storm, each step a testament to his faith. As the rain lashed against him, he whispered to himself, "I am not alone. I will find my way." And just as he thought he could endure no more, the clouds parted, revealing a breathtaking sight. A rainbow stretched across the sky, and beyond it, his guiding star shone brighter than ever before. The disciples listened with rapt attention, the story weaving a tapestry of hope and struggle within their hearts. They could see Eli drenched and battered by the storm, standing beneath that rainbow, his face uplifted to the star. They felt his pain, his doubt, and the quiet triumph that filled him as he saw that star's light shining through the darkness. But the mountain had one last test for Eli, Jesus said, his tone softening again. The path grew more treacherous as he neared the summit. The air became thin, making each breath a struggle. His body ached from the endless climb, and his strength seemed to seep away with every step. His feet slipped on loose stones, and more than once he found himself clinging to the edge of a cliff, staring down into the dizzying depths below. He felt like he had reached the end of his strength, that he could not take another step. He fell to his knees, clutching a small rock, and whispered a desperate prayer. "Lord, if it is not your will for me to reach the summit, let me find peace here. I have nothing left to give." As Eli knelt on the rocky ledge, a silence fell over the mountain. For a moment he felt as if time itself had paused, holding its breath with him. Then, slowly, the clouds above him began to part, revealing a night sky filled with stars. But one star shone brighter than all the rest, the very star that had guided him since the beginning. The star's light illuminated the path before him, and a gentle voice spoke to his heart. "Your journey was never just about the summit, but about the strength you found in the climb. Your dream, though distant, has given you the will to rise again and again. Look back, Eli, and see how far you have come." Eli turned, and for the first time, He saw the vast valley stretching out below him, filled with the winding paths he had traveled. He saw the places where he had stumbled, where he had wept, and where he had found the strength to rise again. His eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow but of deep gratitude. He realized that every bruise, every tear, and every whispered prayer had shaped him into someone stronger and wiser than he had ever been. With a heart full of peace, Eli took the final steps to the summit, where he stood beneath the star that had guided him for so long. As he gazed up at its light, he no longer saw just a distant dream. He saw a reflection of the journey within himself, a journey of faith, of struggle, and of the quiet strength that had grown in his heart through every trial. He raised his hands to the sky, and whispered with all the love and gratitude in his heart, "Thank you, Lord, for every step, for every struggle, for teaching me that the light I sought was within me all along." Jesus looked at his disciples, his expression filled with a love that pierced through their doubts. His voice was barely more than a whisper, yet it held the power of truth. Eli's journey is like your own, beloved. The dreams that burn in your hearts may seem as distant as a star, and the paths you walk may be filled with hardships that test your spirit. But remember this: it is not the summit that defines you but the courage you find along the way. It is not the height you reach, but the strength you discover within when you rise after each fall. Even in the storms, even when the path seems dark, I am with you, guiding you, giving you the strength to rise again. The star you follow is not just above you, it is within you, leading you toward a life of purpose. The disciples, filled with a new sense of hope, felt their hearts swell with gratitude. They saw their own struggles mirrored in Eli's journey and found comfort in the promise that their efforts were not in vain. They understood that their struggles were not just obstacles but opportunities to grow closer to the light that guided them. As they walked away from that place, they carried with them the light of the story, a reminder that their dreams, though difficult to achieve, were worth every step of the journey. They knew now that they were not alone, that their struggles had meaning, and that their star was always shining, leading them to the purpose that awaited. The story of Eli and the star remained with the disciples, a timeless lesson that echoed through their hearts in the days that followed. It was a story of hope, of perseverance, and of the quiet, unbreakable strength that comes from walking in faith. It was a reminder that achieving life goals is not just about reaching the summit but finding the strength to climb, even when the path seems impossible. May you, dear reader, find your star, and may its light guide you through every valley, every storm, and every challenge, until you discover the strength that has been within you all along. This is end of the story. Comment Amen if you believe in Jesus' blessings. Please like this video and subscribe this channel for more Jesus story like this. May the God watch over you.